Hey everyone, Miss Fleming here. I am making this video to help you put your flute together and take it apart at home. Now, this video is going to be slightly different than what we did in class because when I was in class with you, I was super particular about a lot of the smaller details. You're not going to be able to do this at home for a couple of weeks because I just want to make sure in class that everybody's doing it right, but this is just in case you forget or if you want to go home and watch a video just so you can remember for class the next day. So, I have enlarged this picture on the smartboard behind me with all the different pieces of the flute in the case. So this is exactly what your flute's gonna look like when your case is open on the floor in front of you. There are 3 different parts of your flute, but we're actually gonna see 4 different things in our case. The first thing is this huge piece right here. Remember, this is the body of your flute. The biggest part is the body. And when your case is open on the ground in front of you, the body is going to be further away from your body. On the left side, up front, we have the foot joint. The foot joint is actually the smallest piece of the flute, and if you notice, it's the smaller piece with keys, because we have another smaller piece without keys. This is the head joint. The head joint has the lip plate and the hole that we're going to blow our air into when we start playing it. The 4th piece that you're going to see in your case, and I'm just clarifying what this is because a lot of you had questions about it in class, you're going to see this black stick in here. This is called the tuning rod. We're not going to use it in class for a while. I will eventually show you what we do with it. It's actually a multi-purpose tool and it's really cool. But we're going to leave that in our case when we're putting our flutes together. Every time we put our flutes together, we're going to make sure we use the pointer fingers on either side of each joint. So the first joint that we're going to pull out, again, this might be different than what we did in class, but I want you to take your pointer fingers to pick up your head joint. When you pick up your head joint, you're gonna see 2 different ends. So one end has a hole in it, and this is the piece that goes into the body of your flute. On the other end, it's not got a hole, it's just a cap, and this is called the crown of your flute. So if you think about the top of your head, you would wear a crown on the top of your head. That's where the crown is on your flute. The head joint doesn't have any keys, and you can probably see it better on this picture. If you look, there are no keys, so we don't have to worry about messing anything up or breaking any keys on our head joints. Every time we hold a piece of our flute, we firmly grasp it, so it does have to be firm, but it also has to be gentle because we don't want to bend anything. So with your head joint, I want you to take either your left or right hand, it doesn't really matter, but you're going to grab the side with more space. So if you look on the picture up here, when you pick your flute up, the lip plate is further to the left, so you're gonna grab it closer to the right. After we have our head joint in our hands, we're gonna take our pointer fingers and we're gonna pick up the body of our flute, still using our pointer fingers to go inside the holes and then lift it up like this. Now, when your flute is in its case, the side with more keys is gonna be on the left. If you notice, there's a lot of keys from here down, but there's actually this also tiny little space over here, and it's got 2 rims on it right here and here. This is where I want you to grab your flute, and again, we're not gonna press the rods. It's okay if you gently touch the keys, like right here and right here, but these poles that go all the way down our flute, if we bend one of those or break one of those, all the keys are gonna be broken. So we have to make sure that we don't touch the rods, but we can touch the keys just lightly. With your body and your head joint in your hands, you're gonna take the side of your head joint with the hole and you're gonna line it up. Remember, we never put our flutes together at an angle because look at how thin that metal is. I don't know if you can see how thin it is, but if you go at an angle, you're gonna crush that in and then your flute's not gonna be able to play. So we have to make sure that we line it up perfectly, and you can just slowly find that spot. Now, once it's lined up and you have a little bit of it in there, you're gonna shimmy it back and forth. And yes, I said shimmy. If it's too hard to twist in, please don't force it. Show me and I will help you fix it. But we're just gonna shimmy it in. And you can't see it on the picture on the board, and you probably can't see it in this video. But remember, at the top of your body, there's going to be this little itty bitty arrow right there. And we're gonna line that arrow up right with this logo. Or another thing that you can think about when you're lining up your flute is this hole on your lip plate is supposed to line up with all of these keys. So if you wanna take your flute and look down the keys and make sure that hole is lined up, yep, then you're perfect. All right, so now we have our head joint and our body. We're still gonna hold the flute by the side that has no keys, just to be safe. And we're gonna do The same thing with our pointer fingers, where we gently pick up our foot joint by putting our fingers on the inside and lifting it up. I mentioned earlier, you can see more keys on this side of the foot joint, and there's a little bit of space over here. However, behind the keys, so if you twist it, there are also no keys on the back side. So you can gently take your hand and wrap it around that side. It's okay to lightly press these keys, but we don't want to touch the rod. So once you're holding the body of your flute by the side that has no keys and the foot joint on the back side where there are no keys, again, you're going to carefully line it up, not at an angle, and you're going to shimmy it in. If something's wrong and it's not going in, do not force it. Please ask me for help and I will help you. Now, it would make sense if the rod's lined up like that, but actually when you're playing flute, if you're holding it, you can't use your pinky keys because your pinky rests right here, but the keys are all the way down here. So when you're putting your foot joint onto the body, you want to make sure that that rod lines up with the keys. This rod splits those keys right there. And again, you can look down your flute and make sure it goes all the way in. Now, if your flute is put together properly, and once we go over our hand positioning, which we'll do that a little bit more this week, if you're holding it properly, it's going to feel pretty comfortable. And once your flute is together, you can also play notes. And that's how you put your flute together. Now, taking it apart, we're going to do the exact same thing, but backwards. So now we're starting with our foot joint because that was the last piece to go on. We're going to grab our flutes, gently grasp our flutes at the same spaces. So make sure that your top hand, whichever, whether it's left or right, it goes on the side of your body with no keys. And the other hand goes behind the keys on the foot joint and gently wraps around without touching the rods. Same thing, we're just gonna gently twist, and if it's causing any problems or you feel like it's stuck, let me know and I will help you. I have a trick and I will show you that trick. So now we have our foot joint off, which is awesome. We're gonna have to make sure that our fingers go back into it so we can set it in the case properly. If you look at this picture up here, the way that your case is laid out, the keys on your foot joint, these little keys right here are gonna go on the right side, and the space without keys goes on the left. So you're going to gently place that back in. It's really hard to see on the board here, but there's this little divot in your case. So let's say the case goes there. There's a little divot right here in this area. And we want to make sure that this rod fits right into that divot, because if we cram these pieces in here and close our case, like force it closed, you're going to bend that rod and that breaks all of your keys. So don't do that. All right, now we have to get the head joint off the body. Same thing here. We're going to grab the head joint. It doesn't really matter where, as long as we're not pressing into the lip plate. And then we're going to grab the body of our flute where there are no keys and gently shimmy it off. Now let's put our body back in first because the body has more keys. Same thing here. You want to make sure that you're putting it the right direction. The two rims go on the right side, and the space with the key almost touching the end of it, that goes on the left. And we're going to gently place that in there. If you look at the smartboard, let me see if I can change color here. If you look at the smartboard, you'll notice this little pancake key right here. It goes over this black tuning rod. We want to make sure that this is on top of the tuning rod, because if it's underneath and we close our case, guess what? That key is going to break really easily. So we have to make sure that it's about the middle of our case over the tuning rod. If you put your body in upside down, so this piece is going that way, you're going to break it. If you don't put your flute in the case perfectly every time, you will break it. So please make sure that you're being careful when you're putting your flute together, as well as putting it back into the case. And then the last piece is our head joint. The lip plate goes on the left side, the crown goes on the left side, and the side with the hole goes on the right. And you're just going to gently place it back in. And again, if you look closely at your case, let's say the case goes right here. There's a little dip where the lip plate fits, and then it goes straight across again. Make sure your lip plate is lined up with that, because again, if you flip it and you try to put it in with the lip plate on the right, there's no divot here, and the tuning rod is actually going to break your lip plate. So please make sure that you put that in your case precisely. All right, once your flute is in the case properly, it should be super easy to close. So you're gonna rest the top down, and then once you close it, it's gonna click. If it doesn't click super easily, it means something on the inside is wrong, and don't force it. Please don't force it. Again, if you need help with this stuff, contact me immediately. I will help you in class. I will try to help you if you're at home and you're afraid to put your flute back, because I really want you to practice, but I also want to make sure that your flutes stay intact so you can practice and you can play in class. All right. With that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I can't wait to see you on Monday to put our flutes together and hopefully make a sound.